Hey, and welcome to another episode of Murphy's Law. I'm Eric Murphy, and this is the new studio setup. I really like it. Let me know what you think. I'm playing with the colors. I can adjust them at any point, but oh man, it feels good. It feels good to be able to record, and I just want to say thank you to everybody who's supported me in being able to get to this place. Today, I had other stuff planned for today, but I was watching I was watching several old episodes of The Atheist Experience. I was actually going back through the early seasons, and I was in season 7, and I was doing my own work and just listening in, and there's this episode with Martin Wagner and Ashley Perrion, and season 7. It really got me thinking. And I mean, this whole experience of it really got me thinking, because just because we host the way we do now doesn't mean that that's the way people have always hosted in this kind of show. And the way AXP is hosted now is not necessarily the way AXP was hosted, 10 years ago. And so what did it look like? How did they behave? As a host, we have certain expectations and practices that we put into effect, but that doesn't mean it's always been that way. So I wanted to listen in. I wanted to check out the way the hosts from before handled those calls, because maybe I can learn from it. And so let's dive into the first clip, and we can get a feel for what this caller wanted to talk about.
One of the things I wanted to bring up is the chakra system that purportedly...
Right. The video quality is terrible. And because of that, instead of me shrinking down and blowing up the video, I'm just going to pop it down here so we can watch it together. I'm still keeping all of this through. I'm not clipping through, so you can see as I progress and get better at this. So just bear with me. One other thing before I put that back up, and that is, this was before the ACA had its own studio. Back in the day when the Atheist Experience started, it was on public access TV. They would go down to the public access building in Austin, and they had a time slot to do the show. It had a definite beginning and a definite end. And if they didn't get to calls, tough, because they needed to vacate for the next show to come in and do their own thing. So as we're watching this, keep an eye, take a look at how they set it up. They had to be able to set up and take down as quickly as they could. And so they had this PVC piping and a banner that they'd put up. That way they could take it down and put it up quickly. So just a little aside, but yeah, let's dive into the clip.
One of the things I wanted to bring up is the chakra system that purportedly all humans have.
The chakra system. Okay, so we're moving out of Christianity today, and we're going to talk about something else. What's interesting is I actually gave this a little bit of thought, and I thought, should I be diving into and criticizing other religions? Heck yeah, I should. The way I see it, the reason we came to the conclusions we do, or at least the way we talk about it on the shows, is you want to have good evidence for believing the things that you believe. That's all there is to it. That is not just a Christian thing. So, okay, let's apply that elsewhere. I know that there are people who get a bee in their bonnet when they see people criticizing other religions, and I want to get to that. But first, let's dive into that claim. So, okay, he wants to talk about the chakra system. Okay, what should we expect? Well, as a host in 2020, my question would be, okay, so you want to talk about chakras. What evidence do you have for chakras? What are they exactly? How do we move into testing or identifying whether or not that's actually a thing? Right? What's your evidence for chakras? But that's not what the hosts did. That's not what Martin and Ashley did. They let this guy continue. And I'm just kind of waiting. I'm waiting for them to dive in. And the guy's just continuing.
Basically, it has a lot to do with karma, and a lot of that has to do with your previous lives.
Whoa. Okay, so we're not expanding on chakras. Now we're going to talk about karma and previous lives. It's a lot of claims. And I could imagine an entire show just doing one of those claims, but instead we're stacking them on top of each other. And for people who are watching who are wondering, okay, well, what's the problem with that? I'll tell you what the problem is with it. The problem is you need to back up each of them. They are themselves something that can be studied, and we can determine whether or not it's true. And here's a Christian analog. Hey, I want to talk to you about original sin. Oh, okay. Oh, also virgin birth, also sacrifice and resurrection. Also, we have to, perform this ritual where we symbolically drink blood and eat flesh. Unless you believe in transubstantiation, then you're actually kind of ish drinking blood and eating flesh. So each of those things are their own conversations. Instead, we're diving through, and I'm watching Ashley and Martin, and they're just like, okay, yeah, I've heard about that, and I'm like, okay, what when are we gonna dive in? And he continues, and here's the piece. Now, mind you, I did not clip this entire call. This is like the first half of the call. So if you want to watch the entire thing where he gets into how your chakras are like cell phones, and how we communicate spiritually like cell phones, I'm going to pop the link to the episode in the description for this video. So after this, go watch it and tell me what you think in the comments, but I had to pick. I had to pick only so many things to talk about, or else I wouldn't get the chance to get in depth on it. So he continued.
Mainly, there's 7 main energy centers in the body, starting at the base of the spine and going up to the top of your head.
What? Okay, 7 main energy. So I actually looked this up and wound up getting a graph. Okay. What? I don't know. Okay, so there's definitely growth there. Okay, so let's hear him kind of discuss a little bit of it. Now, this next part where he starts talking about what these energy centers are kind of blew me away. I was wow. So give me just a second. I am actually going to clip this part because I want to get this right. Are we ready? 1, 2, 3.
The more spiritual you are, the kundalini energy that lies at the base of the spine, and it's like a snake that lies curled up at the dormant of your spine, and it's asleep. Most people's lives, especially people who are crooks, who end up in jail and who are just plain old liars, their kundalini never rises above their 3rd chakra, which is based at the solar plexus.
Okay. So did that help anyone? Yeah, me neither. And I know that I personally, if I was hosting, I'd have been like, time out. What is a kundalini? And how do you know that that's a thing? How do you know that chakras are a thing? How do you know where they're located? And at this point, I'm brimming now. I'm just like, come on. How do we get there? And sure enough, they start kicking in. And really, what I noticed about these older calls, in these older episodes, is that they would let the caller go on for a little bit. Nowadays, that wouldn't fly. It absolutely wouldn't. I can imagine looking in the comments and people being like, "You let them go for way too long. You didn't bring up this, or you didn't catch them on this or that or the other thing." And really, as a host, now we want to make sure that we do catch people on things, and we go down the list a little more methodically. But that wasn't necessarily the take on it. And especially in earlier episodes, yeah, they'd let these guys just kind of continue on. And then they would go, okay, I want to pick this one point. and go in on it. And so they started to respond. And let's start with Ashley.
Energy form typically takes on light is energy, heat is energy, gamma waves are energy, that type of thing. We have the spectrum mapped out.
That's a good call. Okay. So we want to talk about energy. That's something that we have come to understand to a pretty strong degree. And we know that because we use energy. I have energy powering the lights right now. I have energy being utilized to get this video to you right now. So energy is not something mystical and magical. It's something that we use. And so bringing up that if you're couching this pseudo-spirituality, it's not even pseudo, if you're couching the spirituality and energy, we've really got to cut that piece out. And the guy, unfazed, doesn't respond to it really. Instead, he continues to talk about how it's not just located in your spine, it's also spinning. And at that point, Martin Wagner pops in.
This high energy spinning going on up and down your spine. I mean, I can't imagine why one wouldn't be able to detect that on an MRI.
Good call. We actually are able to image parts of our body. So again, we're taking these supernatural claims and we're going, okay, if these are actual real things and you actually really care about what's true in the world, then we should be able to test for some of these things, because we can test for other things that we believe in. So why not this? Why not an MRI? How come that wouldn't work? And then Martin has a fantastic point that he brings up after that.
Yeah, and another problem that, of course, you have the whole concept is, what if you get a person who's like paralyzed from the neck down or from the shoulders down?
Yeah. Is that person doomed to a life of crime? What a clever piece. That is something that I absolutely love about seeing those different hosts, is their takes on things was fantastic. I actually never got to meet Martin, which I'm sad about. I got to meet Ashley, and let me tell you, Ashley Perrion is one of the coolest dudes I've ever met. Ashley, if you ever get to watch this video, you are one of the coolest dudes I've ever met. You're an absolute blast to talk to, and it's fantastic watching these older episodes. So that said, yeah. Now, you might be wondering, Eric, why are you picking on this? Normally, I wouldn't. You know, if it's just claim, we're not really bringing extra to the table to talk about, because we already know what to do with unfounded claims. You need to have evidence for them, or else they're not worth exploring. But here's the reason why. This caller goes on and he actually brings up something that really kind of grinds on me.
The highest, most chakra is the gateway to Christ consciousness or Hindu consciousness or whatever you want to call it.
I'm pretty sure the Hindus didn't call it Christ consciousness. No. What you have here is something that really upsets me. And it's something that I'm guilty of. So I don't want to hold myself aside as if I'm some holier than thou person. It's something that I did. And now that I look back, I cringe about it. And so I want to bring this up. And that is that as Westerners, the fetishization of other religions, Eastern religions in particular, you know, acting like there's a mystical, magical kind of presence to it. This is someone else's religion. And I'm not saying that there aren't people who don't convert. You know, there are people who convert and take this very, very seriously, and I can argue with them all day. No problem. But I'm talking about the tourists. You know, people who, instead of challenging the way they think, they surround themselves with things that they only partially understand, and then hide in the mystery of it. And let's be clear, there is another side to it, and that is that, you know, especially here in this particular, spot, there are beneficial things. Like, let's look at yoga, right? If you want to pop in your AirPods and grab your yoga mat and a chai latte on your way over to your yoga class, where they also do Zumba or whatever else, cool. If you're getting older and you're going, you know what, this is a good way to keep my body in shape, fantastic. But to act like you're in touch with these energies, it upsets me. And if you know somebody who's doing that, send them this video, because I challenge them. Call into the show and tell me how the hell I'm wrong about this, because it is fetishizing someone else's religion, and it is a religion. There is violence all over the world with all other religions too. It is not just a Christian or Muslim thing. No. There's sectarian violence. And there has been, and there will continue to be. That's what happens when people have ideas that they refuse to challenge or make taboo to challenge. That said, I know this is a different kind of video. It's my first rant video. If you liked this, let me know, and I'd be happy to do others, because I've got a whole lot to say. If you didn't, also pop that in the comments. I'm interested to see what people think about this. And also let me know what you think of the set. I mean, this is all new stuff, and I'm really excited to share it with you. So if you like what I do, click here to subscribe. I put out new content every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. If you want to get early access to content, you can click here and support me on Patreon. Also, if you want to watch the last episode that I did with Jenna Belk, she's back. Go ahead and click here. I'll see you next week.